I looked at my wife, Ingrid's, phone and felt sick at what I saw. It was full of messages to a man named Will, messages one would normally send to a lover. My blood ran cold when I read them. She made appointments after work on days when she told me she had to stay late at work. They went out for dinner and drinks. It was clear that they were dating. She told him how well he listened and what good company she was. He told her how beautiful she was. She told him how much she looked forward to seeing him again. There were photos of them together, hugging and smiling. It looks like they have been dating for several months. This was my worst nightmare. How could she do this to me? I was only faithful. I opened her photos and scrolled down to see us in happier times. These happy memories have become tearing apart my heart. The phone made a sound and a message appeared. It was from Will. Booked in Rome from May 26th to 29th. Can't wait. Oh my God, that's when she was supposed to go to a conference she was planning to attend. It was 2 months from now. 2 months from now. I look at the messages again. A feeling of relief washed over me. They haven't had sex yet. They couldn't. Oh, Christ. But they were planning it, in Rome. Jack, have you seen my phone? I heard Ingrid's sharp voice, invisible from the other room. I quickly pretended to sort through the papers before shouting back at her. I found it! I shouted to her. I stood up and walked towards her. It was charging in my office. I smiled weakly, handing it to her, my hand trembling. You have a message. She looked at me nervously. Are you digging into my phones? No, of course not. I lied with a fake laugh. Are you having an affair or something? Not funny, she snorted, snatching the phone, but her eyes were full of nervous doubt. Remember, I'm working until late today. I won't be home until 9. You can have dinner without me. There are leftovers in the refrigerator. I went to kiss her, and she turned around, so I kissed her on the cheek, and she left without saying goodbye. I returned to my office and collapsed in my chair in despair. This can't be true. I then started looking at the pictures of us on my desk. We looked so happy. Looking at them, I noticed that the photographs were taken several years ago. I looked younger, better dressed, and thinner. These were the times when I worked for a large corporation, before I quit my job and became a financial blogger. I went to our bedroom and saw the photographs there. They were also from those times. I walked around the house and the photos were the same before I went back to our bedroom and looked in the mirror, and my despair turned to anger. In the mirror, I saw what she saw. I was a mess. My hair was a mess. My clothes were old and dirty. I had no idea how much I had let myself go. Ingrid was disgusted by me. She stopped loving me. That's why our sex life disappeared. You can't have sex with someone who disgusts you. Why did she have to love this guy? A terrible realization struck me. I stopped trying, too. She spent the day at the office, came home, cooked and cleaned, while I sat in his home office. It's no surprise that she started dating someone else, with someone who would pay attention to her, with someone like Will. My wife, Ingrid, and I were married for 5 years and together for 8. We were a good couple. We regularly went to restaurants together, met with friends, and went on trips. Our sex life was epic. Sex with Ingrid was the best I've ever had. We were about to start a family. We had good careers. You would call us successful people. You would still call Ingrid successful. Now she earns much more than me. When I lost my job, I decided to follow my dream of becoming a writer, so I started a financial advice blog. Ingrid supported me throughout. I was able to make decent money, but it was only a fraction of what I could make before. The truth is that I could have made more money from it. My financial advisor blog was linked to Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook accounts. My dream was to be the next consumer finance guru. I had thousands of loyal followers, but I could have done so much more with it. But I became a lazy fat wimp. Tears welled up in my eyes, seeing what I had become. Without any boasting, I was beautiful and well-groomed. Women were paying attention to me, but I only had eyes for Ingrid. And now Ingrid had eyes for someone else. I was furious with myself. I became lazy, and it cost me Ingrid. She betrayed me because of my laziness, and we were on our way to divorce. Despite her betrayal, I still loved her. Then I remembered that she hadn't had sex with Will yet, and wondered if there was any chance of getting her back. Did I want her back? Yes, I did. She betrayed me because I betrayed her with my laziness and inattention. If I wanted her back, I needed to change. I needed to be the person I used to be, the man she loved. I had 2 months. If she had sex with Will, there would be no turning back. When you have a blog, you often collaborate with other bloggers. I checked my followers and past colleagues. There were a few fitness and lifestyle bloggers that I contacted that I gave free financial advice to from time to time. I quickly texted someone who lived nearby. "Hello, Nick. I hope you can help me. I want to lose weight and get in shape. Will you train me? I'm ready to pay for your time. I can also give you a publication on my blog. We can record my story and post links to your blog and photos of both of us. All the best." Jack Nick's response was almost immediate. "What's wrong?" Jack, "Sounds great. When do you want to start?" Nick, "Oh God, this is going to be hard. Thanks, Nick. We need to start today or tomorrow. I just found out that my wife is dating someone else. I need help getting in shape to get her back, and I only have 2 months to save our marriage." Jack Nick's answer made me wait a bit. My heart sank to my feet. I could have done it myself, but I needed a personal trainer for quick results to at least be in shape before Ingrid went to Rome with Will. But he seemed to have decided to stop communicating after my confession. I needed to go back to being the man she married. I went to my closet and looked at my clothes. There were a lot of things I forgot about. I pulled them out and realized that now I could never fit into them. Then I looked at the clothes I usually wore, and they even disgusted me. It had stains and holes. I needed to buy new clothes. I took some trash bags and just stuffed all my clothes in there, even my underwear and socks. Tears rolled down my face. Nothing justified Ingrid cheating on me, but I gave her an excuse she could use if I pushed her. Even if it was too late, I had to do it with my head held high. I went back to my computer and saw that Nick had replied, "Jack, buddy, I'm so sorry. Sorry for not responding faster. I hope I didn't seem soulless. I checked my schedule. I like the idea of collaboration, but let's focus on you. Can you be in Ashbury Park at 3 p.m. today so we can understand what we're dealing with?" I answered quickly, "Thank you very much, Nick. Sounds great today at 3 p.m. in Ashbury Park. See you there." My heart jumped. I met Nick as scheduled in Ashbury Park at 3 p.m. Since I found out about Ingrid's cheating, my self-esteem and sense of self-worth has dropped to 0. It got even worse when I saw how the world saw me, and I think it hit rock bottom when I met Nick. Nick was a very handsome guy, with a well-defined and muscular body. Not surprisingly, he had a lot of female clientele and fans. To make matters worse, he was also a really nice guy. Any man would not feel good. I spent the morning shopping. I spent a fortune on new clothes and went to get my hair cut. I tried to hold back because I was hoping to lose a couple of clothing sizes, but I threw away so many that I needed to replace most of them, or I wouldn't have anything to wear. I also visited a hardware store and bought a camera, background lights, a microphone, and a GoPro. When I started my blog, I planned to have a YouTube channel, but although I created an account, it fell by the wayside when my laziness took over. This had to change. "Hey, Jack," Nick called to me warmly from afar. Damn, this guy was well built and looked even more muscular in real life. Some guys would probably become gay for him. Nick then made a face as I got closer, and he saw what I couldn't help but notice. "Hi, Nick. How are you?" "So sorry, Jack, for everything and for my reaction," he said with a feeling of guilt. "It was really unprofessional of me." "Don't worry about it," I assured him. "I know what I look like. If I didn't know, I wouldn't be here. No wonder Ingrid is cheating on me." "No, buddy. It's her who cheated, not you," he said seriously and with plenty of sympathy. "I'll be honest. You're out of shape, and I can't help you get her back. But I can help you get in shape so that even if you can't get her back, she'll regret it, and you won't be on the market long. How does that sound to you?" "Sounds great, Nick," I smiled. Nick's enthusiasm was infectious. "If we're going to do this, I need 100% commitment from you. We don't have much time, but I know we can do it." Hell yes, I answered loudly, surprising myself with my own enthusiasm. Yes, Nick screamed, and we patted each other's hands. That's what I want to see. We're already off to a good start. Listen, Nick, I'm serious about this collaboration. I brought some equipment to film our training sessions. I want to film my journey, and I want you to benefit from it. Jack, there's really no need. You've helped me in the past with my business for free. I'm just paying back the favor. No, I insist. What I did for you is a drop in the bucket compared to what you do for me. Okay, just because you insist is fine. Great, I smiled. We went to the car and grabbed a GoPro because Nick decided we'd start by running in the park. The training was hell. More than once Nick tried to stop me, but I insisted that we continue. I was really just wandering around the park before Nick made me do some weights and paw and mitt boxing. I have to say, I'm impressed with your attitude, Nick said when we finished. Ingrid must be impressed when you get home. I made an anguished expression, and Nick immediately realized that she had seen Will that night. Jesus, I'm sorry, look, we're gonna do this 3 times a week, and I'll send you some yoga exercises you can do when we're not dating, which will help work on your core so you get results faster. You should see some improvement in about 3 weeks. Are you ready for this? It's going to be really hard on you. Plus, I don't think you should do it for Ingrid's sake. It's better to do it for your own sake. If you get Ingrid back, then great. But if not, you'll still keep your pride. I don't want you to feel at the end that it was all in vain. People get depressed because... for this. Yes. I exhaled with difficulty, barely breathing, which made Nick laugh. But my expression through the pain said that I agreed with him. And Nick saw it too. This guy was real. Great. We'll meet here at 3 p.m. in a couple of days. When I got home and took a shower, I noticed that the dirty laundry was overflowing. I decided that since it was the first day, I should make a big statement. So I loaded as much as I could into the washing machine and went to the store to get ingredients for spaghetti carbonara. It was the dish I made the night we made love for the first time, so I knew it was special for her, and I paired it with her favorite Italian wine. I might not be the one taking her to Italy, but maybe I could bring Italy to her. I waited after 21 wow for Ingrid to return. Eventually, the hunger from my training took over, and I ate dinner alone. I left her plate on the table waiting for her. I assumed she had dinner with Will. I spent the rest of the evening hanging out laundry to dry, then I went online for tips on how to deal with cheating. It turns out Ingrid was having an emotional affair, and now it's up to me to decide how to handle it. If I wanted a divorce, I needed proof, but if I wanted her back, I needed to win her back. I decided that the plan I had in mind was the right one, but if it escalated into a physical relationship, that would be a red line for me. Nick sent me yoga exercises. He must have spent hours doing this for me. He proved that he was a true friend. It was already after 22 Baishak when Ingrid returned. I went to bed early because it had been a busy and emotional day. I was half asleep when she came home and I heard, "Oh," out of surprise. I assumed she saw spaghetti carbonara. Then I heard, "What the," out of surprise again. She must have seen the drying underwear. I'm not sure what she was doing, but she spent some time before she went up the stairs. Then Ingrid slowly walked up the stairs, as if she was afraid of seeing something she didn't like. I heard her go into the bathroom and she started to pleasure herself, as I always did when I came home late. Usually this upset me because it meant she didn't want to have sex with me or even let me satisfy her. But this time I was relieved, because it meant she almost didn't have sex with Will, but it became more and more difficult for her because she hasn't had sex for a long time. I hoped she could hold it in a little longer. The next morning I got up early and discovered why she had taken so long to go to bed. She completely rearranged the laundry that was drying. I prepared her breakfast and waited for her. "Did you make me breakfast?" I wasn't sure if this was a statement or a question from Ingrid. I think she wasn't sure either. We ate breakfast in silence, and Ingrid ate with a worried expression on her face. I didn't think it was a doubt in her head. Rather, she was wondering why I was doing this, and maybe wondering if I knew about her and Will. "Thanks for dinner and for doing the laundry," she said quietly. "I need to show you how to hang your laundry properly. Sorry, I ate out yesterday with colleagues, but I'll have spaghetti carbonara for lunch. I tried it a little and it was delicious. It's been a while since you cooked this for me." When I kissed Ingrid goodbye, she turned her cheek as usual, but this time it was a little less turned away. I was surprised by her reaction. When she left the house, I couldn't help but smile. She hasn't come back to me yet, but it was a better start than I could have dreamed of. I started the day with some yoga that Nick sent me, and then went through my blog and picked out a few video topics to upload to YouTube. During the breaks, I finished washing the dirty laundry and prepared dinner so I could cook it later. Ingrid surprised me when she returned home at her usual time. She was in a terrible mood. "You're home early. I thought you were working late again," I asked carefully. "So what?" she replied sharply, ignoring my attempt to kiss. "This is my home too. I have the right to be here. I'll start cooking dinner," I told her. "What?" she exclaimed. "I'll start cooking dinner. I found an interesting Japanese recipe," I said quietly. "Okay," she exclaimed again, but less angrily before screaming, "Oh, for God's sake, Jack, come here." I found it near the clothes drying rack. "If you want to keep doing laundry, learn how to hang your laundry properly. Get the hangers from the closet." She then started showing me how to hang my laundry properly while scolding me. I'm confused. She screamed and insulted me, but helped me with the laundry. It didn't make sense. Then her phone rang and she looked scared. "I need to take this call," and she hurried to the toilet and locked the door. I couldn't help but eavesdrop, but I'm glad I did, because I found out the reason for her bad mood. "I told you not to call me when I'm with Jack," I heard Ingrid say in a whisper. "Seriously? Are you still talking about spaghetti carbonara? What should I have done? I should have eaten it. Whether it was tasty or not doesn't matter. If I hadn't eaten it and just thrown it away, he would have been suspicious. This may not be important to you, but it's important to me. Look, I'm not going to talk about it now. I have to go." And she abruptly ended the conversation. I couldn't help but jump for joy. She was obviously talking to Will, and they were having a big argument about the spaghetti carbonara I made for her. Admittedly, it took Will the courage to deal with a married woman and then be jealous of her husband when he does something that his wife likes. What a moron he is. 1 point, and my weapon of choice was spaghetti carbonara. I decided to cook all her lunches from that moment on. I took the wine that Ingrid and I hadn't drunk last night and poured 2 glasses. Ingrid may not have celebrated, but I did. Ingrid sat in the toilet for a while before she flushed the toilet and pretended to wash her hands. Or maybe she was washing her face, because when she came out of the toilet, she looked like she had been crying. "Here," I told her, handing her a glass of wine. "You look stressed. Sit down and tell me about your day while I cook." Ingrid looked at me dumbfounded before really looking at me. "You bought a new one where?" "Yes, I decided to completely update my wardrobe and started playing sports," I said cheerfully. I was in a good mood. "Oh," she said, taking a sip of wine with a worried expression on her face. "They fit you well." We ate dinner in awkward silence. Ingrid's worried expression remained, and when I suggested that she watch TV while I washed the dishes, her confusion intensified. When we watched TV together, Ingrid held her phone jealously, but as the evening progressed, she became more relaxed and left it on the coffee table. Her anxiety and confusion soon disappeared, and she fell asleep on the couch. I covered her with a blanket, then took her phone and started looking at her messages. I couldn't help but smile when I read the most recent ones. They were written in a harsher tone, and Ingrid even threatened not to go to Rome with Will. This made him retreat. I reread some of the old posts, but more analytically and less emotionally. This was clearly an unequal relationship. Ingrid dominated. Will paid for the entire trip to Rome, but Ingrid seemed noticeably cool, as if everything was moving too quickly. I needed to use this. The next morning, I cooked us breakfast again and recorded some more videos. I met up with Nick for our next workout before heading home to make dinner. I was disappointed that Ingrid didn't come home until 8 p.m., again making the excuse that she had to work late. I knew it was a lie, because it was obvious. I felt a little funny watching her eat dinner. Obviously, she had already eaten, but she tried to eat my dinner too. When Friday arrived, I asked Ingrid at breakfast if she was going out with friends over the weekend, since I now assumed she was dating Will. "Not this week," she said, with her now permanently worried expression. "I have a lot of ironing to do. I don't know what you got into it, but it's a big help. Thanks for the laundry and cooking." "I can do this for you if you want to go out," I suggested. "No, I'll do it. You did most of the homework this week. I should do something. You haven't written anything on your blog either. You should do that." "Are you still reading my blog?" I asked, in confusion. She had not asked about this for a long time. "Of course I read," she almost snorted. "I didn't write anything because I was recording a YouTube video." Ingrid's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Are you finally doing it?" "Yes. I noticed that I failed you and, worst of all, myself," I admitted. "I became lazy. I needed to raise my standards." I was sure there was a flicker of impression on her face before she stood up and said, "I have to go," and she instinctively kissed me on the lips. Ingrid froze as she realized what she had done, then quickly turned around, gathered her things, and slipped out the door. I met with Nick on Friday. "Hi, Jack. How are you?" he asked, unsure whether to ask. "How are things going between you and Ingrid?" "Okay," I said, smiling, but then couldn't stop myself from crying. "Jack, dude," Nick asked worriedly. "What happened? She didn't leave you, did she?" I shook my head. "No, she kissed me today," I said between sobs. "She didn't want it, but it was like a habit." Nick hugged me. "This guy was amazing. Jack, I'm so happy for you. Okay, this is not the time to stop. We have to move on. Let's get started." That evening at dinner, Ingrid praised me. "I enjoyed your blog today. When are you going to post your videos?" "I've written down about 5 of them, but they need editing. Do you mind if I do that tonight? I need to start posting them." "No, of course not. Can I watch them?" "Yes," I said enthusiastically. "Like I said, they need editing. But you can be the first to see them. I'd like that." As Ingrid watched the video, I could see her interest growing. "They're good," she told me, sitting next to me. "You need to be a little more relaxed and less constrained, but the content is really good." Ingrid was a financial expert like me, so her opinion and praise mattered beyond just my wife. She would tell me if they were bad. While she was watching the video, messages kept coming to her phone. I had no doubt it was Will. It must have been hellish for him, knowing she was home with me. I was working on video editing. Ingrid looked at my screen every now and then and smiled, completely ignoring her phone until she fell asleep on the couch again. Over the course of a week, she went from hostility to anxiety to awkwardness, and for the first time I felt her relax around me. I was confident I was winning, but I still had a long way to go, and I still needed to tell her what I knew about her and Will. For the next week, she kissed me on the lips every day when she left for work. Ingrid worked late when she went on dates with Will, but only stayed until very late on Thursday. She was clearly drunk and in need of self-satisfaction. I then felt a tense silence in the bathroom before she almost sobbed in a drunken voice and said, "Oh, Jack, what are you doing to me?" She turned on the shower and I could hear her crying. Part of me wanted to console her, but that would show her that I knew about her scam. I had to use all my strength not to go to her. She ended up sneaking almost guiltily into bed. She might have been drunk, but I felt horny. She was self-satisfied, but what brought her to the edge was the thought of me. All the effort I've put in over the past 2 weeks has worked. I was close, but not there yet, and still had to tell her what I knew about her and Will. The next morning, I noticed that my pants became looser, and the t-shirt seemed tighter in the chest area. I couldn't resist taking off my t-shirt and checking myself in the mirror. I still had a little belly, but it had definitely shrunk. My girl sides had disappeared, and I had tensed and felt the muscles in my arms and thighs. They had definitely gotten stronger. Nick said I would start seeing results in about 3 weeks, but it's only been 2. When I met Nick that day, I had to tell him about it. "Hey, Nick, look!" I exclaimed, picking up my t-shirt. "I can't believe I've pulled myself up already." "Wow, guy," Nick responded, sounding stunned. "I can't thank you enough. Maybe if I keep this up, I'll have a body like you." "No," he replied with a grin, lifting his own t-shirt and defiantly flexing his abs. "You still have a long way to go." "Jerk," I laughed. "But seriously, Jack, I'm impressed. Anyone can dislike themselves in the mirror, but it takes real strength to get over yourself and actually make changes in your life. It's inspiring." "Shut up, Nick," I said, not believing a word, thinking it was just a blah-blah-blah trainer to motivate me. Nick put his hand on my shoulder and looked me straight in the eye. "Boy, you gotta understand this. This is inspiring. I see you progressing, and it's all thanks to you. I just showed you how. And to be honest, I thought that you would give up. Every time I pushed you to work harder, you responded. I'm proud of you, man. Really proud." He sounded really emotional. I just smiled stupidly. "Honestly, how long will it take me to achieve a figure like yours?" "You can't, kid, I'm sorry. Not because I don't believe you can do it. It's just that you and I are different body types. But we can get you in better shape. How does that sound to you?" "Sounds great," I smiled. "Cool. New goal. Let's get to work." I think that day I regained my self-esteem and self-esteem. That evening, Ingrid came home a little late with bags from the store. She looked upset. "Let me make dinner tonight," she told me, giving me a kiss before handing me a bottle of beer and throwing her phone on the table. "You've been working hard lately. Why don't you start working on your videos? They've become very popular at work. Everyone is very impressed." When dinner was ready, I noticed that her phone still hadn't moved. After dinner, we sat in front of the TV. Ingrid seemed distant. Over the course of the week, she began to sit closer to me until that night we sat with our legs touching. "What's wrong, Ingrid?" I said firmly as she moved constantly. "Nothing. My legs just hurt. I did a presentation today for potential clients and I was on my feet all day." I knew that this time she was telling the truth. She went to work in uncomfortable high heels. I stood up and grabbed my moisturizer. "Give me your legs," I said, patting my knees. "Jack?" she muttered incredulously. "Let's," I told her firmly, surprising myself. "Wow yourself with your authority." Ingrid obediently extended her legs and I began to massage them. She closed her eyes and moaned, "Oh, that feels so good." Her eyes suddenly widened in panic and she rushed out of the room. I remained seated, feeling mixed emotions. I brought her pleasure, but it only made her run away. I followed her upstairs to our bathroom and found the door closed and Ingrid crying inside. "Ingrid, are you okay?" I asked softly, knocking on the door. "Don't worry, I'm just being stupid. Go watch TV. I think I'll go to bed." When your significant other, who is cheating on you, tells you not to worry, you start to worry. I went downstairs and found Ingrid's phone to check her messages. There was only one new message from Will. All there was a kiss emoji and the words, "Miss you." No matter how often I saw these messages from Will to Ingrid, they still made me feel bad, but the messages seemed to become lighter, less frequent, and less interesting on Ingrid's part. I could interpret it any way I wanted, but Ingrid didn't seem to be as taken with Will as before. Throwing her phone on the coffee table, I then grabbed my laptop and started editing some videos, but my heart just wasn't in it. Reading Will's message to Ingrid reminded me that even though things were getting better between Ingrid and I, there was still a third person in our relationship. I took a deep breath to calm down and went to bed. When I approached the bedroom, Ingrid seemed to be already asleep. I brushed my teeth and went to bed next to Ingrid. She breathed softly, turning her back to me. I just lay there. My mind went beyond my mind. I knew that soon I would have to tell Ingrid what I knew about Will, and that day was inevitably approaching. I do not know why. Maybe I just felt the need for a hug. With all the thoughts swirling through my head at that moment, I felt vulnerable. So I turned to Ingrid and hugged her, and immediately felt her tense up. A feeling of fear came over me, and my mind began to panic. I misjudged where we were. She still had strong feelings for Will. It was too late. She was going to leave me anyway. Just as I began to withdraw my hand, she suddenly grabbed it, holding it neither here nor there, in an unsatisfactory, in-between position. My body froze, and Ingrid seemed to be locked in indecision, as if I had thrown a surprise at her. I'm not sure, but I thought I heard her whisper under her breath in frustration. This is unfair. She then moved back towards me and pulled my arm down and hugged it tightly. As we both lay in the spoon position for the first time in months, Ingrid whispered, "It's nice," and she squeezed my hand tighter. "Ingrid, you're hurting me," I whispered back. "Sorry," she laughed, loosening her grip, but not so much that I could easily free myself. Ingrid took it into her own possession and did not plan to return it until the morning. The warmth and closeness of Ingrid next to me led to the inevitable, and I became agitated. This created awkwardness between us as neither of us knew what the other wanted or was going to do. "I'm sorry," Ingrid finally said, with a sadness in her voice that I hadn't heard in a long time, reaching out behind me and touching my leg. "I'm not ready for this yet." "It's okay," I whispered back. The truth is that I wasn't ready either. The next morning, I woke up and found that Ingrid was not lying next to me. While I was coming to my senses, I heard her satisfying herself in the bathroom. Now I felt a little sad that I wasn't the one giving her pleasure, but then I was stunned when I heard her start crying afterwards and say, "Oh God, I'm so confused." Have you ever had a day or week when everything went your way? So the next week was just like that. We spent the weekend feeling like a real married couple for the first time in months. No, almost a year. It was so bad. Sleeping together became more intimate, without any physical contact. Ingrid put her hand under my t-shirt and began to caress my breasts. I guess my new physicist shouldn't have come as a surprise. Weekend chores became almost enjoyable because we did them together. Just as the weekend went well, the next week went better. On Monday, unexpectedly, the restaurant Il Farinese, which is located not far from Ingrid's office, wrote to me. It was the most exclusive restaurant in the area, and people made reservations months in advance. I knew full well that Ingrid was desperate to eat there. She loved all things Italian, and the restaurant received 2 Michelin stars, but the menu matched those stars for the price. The restaurant approached me for financial advice. There's a give-me-you culture in the blogging world, and they asked what I wanted in return, so of course I said I wanted a table for 2 this week. They replied that they were sorry, but they could only offer lunch on Thursday at 13 Mao. Lunch on Thursday at 1 p.m.? What do I care about? Of course, Thursday at 13 hours would be ideal. Fuck you, Will. Beat it. That evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, I told Ingrid the news. "Are you free to have lunch with me on Thursday?" I asked, pretending to be indifferent. "Sorry, I don't think I'll have time. I've been very busy lately," she told me almost with a feeling of guilt. "Busy my ass. You were going to lunch with Will." "Oh," I said, pretending to be upset. "I was able to get us a table at Il Farinese." "Very funny, Jack," she said irritably, not believing me. "It's true. They asked me for financial advice, and in return they offered me a free lunch." Ingrid looked at me long and hard before turning away and leaning against the countertop, trying to contain her emotions. "Jack, I'm not in the mood for jokes. I'm under a lot of stress right now. I just can't handle another stupid thing." I'm guessing she was talking about having a husband trying to win her back and a boyfriend complaining that she didn't spend enough time with him. I looked at her with eyes wide open in shock. I had no idea how torn she was with so many feelings. She must have suffered from so much indecision that she was ready to explode. "Look," I told her, and took out my phone with confirmation. Her face went from anger to disbelief in less than a second. "How?" That was all she could say. As I said, they asked me for financial advice and I asked for dinner there in exchange. "Do you want me to cancel?" "No," she said quickly. "I'll endure a few things." Her face was full of conflicting emotions. She bit her lip for a moment before she pulled my head down for a kiss. Our lips parted, and our tongues touched for the first time that I can remember. "Thank you," Ingrid whispered breathlessly as our lips parted, and she hugged me. I could feel her body shaking as she tried to control her emotions. "Sorry," she apologized. "I should have said yes right away. You've been trying so hard for me lately. I need to give you more time." Hearing these words, it was now my turn to be emotionally shocked. For the first time, she truly expressed sincere gratitude to me. Oh my God, I should have told her I knew about Will this week. The next day, I decided to check my income from blogging and video. I worked hard on SEO and my blog rose in the rankings. This meant that I ranked high on Google and YouTube. Advertising revenues have increased significantly. Now I was making decent money, although it wasn't anything extraordinary. However, it allowed me to contribute more to the household budget, which I must admit boosted my sense of self-worth as I no longer felt like a burden to Ingrid. On Thursday, I decided to surprise Ingrid at her office a little before 13 Asu to take her to a restaurant. I really wasn't sure if this was a good idea. There was an obvious possibility of meeting Will. Well, he would have seen me. He would know what I look like from my blog and videos if he read and watched them. I had no idea what he looked like. Il Farinese was a chic place, so I dusted off my old suit and put it on. I was relieved because I had lost enough weight that it fit me again, although it was a little tight around the waist, but there was no other choice. Looking at myself in the mirror, I felt like I had gone back in time, back to my office days, the days that were so unfulfilling, the days that I swore I would never go back to. I walked into the building where Ingrid worked and walked up to the front desk. "Hello, I'm here to see Ingrid Cooper," I said to the bored-looking receptionist. The receptionist was a woman in her early 20s with professionally styled blonde hair. She was dressed in a light blue uniform that matched her blue eyes. "Of course, sir. And who should I—" She raised her head and really saw me. "Oh my God, you're the guy from the YouTube video. Ingrid is your wife?" she asked excitedly. "Yes," I answered, embarrassed. "Ingrid is my wife. One moment, I'll call her and let her know you're here." And she entered Ingrid's name into her computer and put on her headset. "Hello, Mrs. Cooper. Your husband is at the reception desk." The receptionist had a look of surprise on her face before she looked back at me. "You really surprised her. She'll be here in a minute." I started talking to the receptionist, and it soon turned into flirting. She was nice, although not my type, but it was fun. I haven't flirted with anyone since I met Ingrid, and it seemed to show that I was a little out of shape. According to the receptionist, whose name turned out to be Rebecca, I was a bit of a celebrity in the office, especially among the women. But I couldn't figure out why. But when some of the women went out on their lunch break, I heard whispers. "That's him from the video, yes, that's him." And I heard Ingrid Cooper is his wife. Then I heard, "If I had a husband like him, I wouldn't cheat on him," which should have boosted my self-esteem, but it felt like a punch to the stomach. It drove home what Ingrid was doing. Suddenly, I felt tension in the reception area, and the receptionist stopped talking and looked awkwardly to the left. I followed her gaze to the group of guys who looked straight at me as they walked past, except for one. He looked completely pale and scared. "Damn way to give yourself away. Here it is, Will." God, he was young. He had to be 5, 6, or even more years younger than Ingrid. No wonder their relationship was so one-sided. My attention to Will was diverted when I heard the sound of the elevator, and there was a sharp intake of breath around me as Ingrid appeared. Her eyes widened in alarm when she saw me and Will a few steps away from each other. Will saw Ingrid and hurried out the door into the street. "Jack, what are you doing here?" Ingrid asked, deciding to simply deny everything. "I came to surprise you," I told her. "I hope you didn't wait too long." She smiled, giving me a deep kiss on the lips. "Look at you. Everything is dressed so beautifully." "Did you do this for me?" she asked, straightening up and straightening my tie. "Yeah, I thought I'd try harder this time," I told her, hugging her. "Rebecca kept me entertained." "Oh, that's how it is?" Ingrid said. Her voice became harsher. Her gaze venomously slid to Rebecca. "Seriously? My wife was having an affair with a younger guy, and she became jealous after I flirted a little with the receptionist. We have to go so we don't miss our reservation." And she took my arm and led me imperiously out of the building. We arrived at the restaurant, and when I said my name, there was a slight panic among the staff until the owner, Mr. Farina, approached. He had silver hair and olive skin. He looked like a typical aging Italian ladies' man. "Mr. Cooper?" He greeted me warmly, shaking my hand firmly. "How nice to see you." "Nice to see you too, Mr. Farina," I said with a puzzled smile, not knowing when he would stop shaking my hand. "This is my wife, Ingrid." "Ah, beautiful Ingrid. You are a lucky man, Mr. Cooper, to be married to such a beautiful woman," Mr. Farina said before kissing Ingrid's hand, making her blush. This Mr. Farina was a pleaser, I admit it. "But Mr. Cooper, please call me Angelo. Friends shouldn't be so formal." "You can call me Jack." Angelo smiled as I introduced myself before he called out loudly, and 2 glasses of Prosecco appeared for Ingrid and I, which made her smile happily. Looks like we were in for some VIP treatment. We were introduced to the head cook, who was Angelo's younger brother, Antonio. There were also several other members of the Farina family who helped out between each course. Lunch was incredible. We didn't even have to order. We were served a variety of dishes, and Ingrid had to forego some wines to avoid returning to the office drunk, so I was glad I had come by bus. "Angelo, the food was amazing," I told him. "Tell Antonio he's an amazing cook." "Thanks a lot," Ingrid said enthusiastically. "I love Italian food, and this is the best I've ever tasted." "I'll look at the numbers you sent me and get back to you next week, Angelo," I promised. "Graces, Jack. Seriously, you're helping a lot by doing this for me." "No, thank you for such an incredible experience." "Don't be a stranger, Jack. You don't have a queue, my friend." We left the restaurant and returned to Ingrid's office. She held my hand tightly, both of us smiling after our unique experience. When we arrived, she turned to me and said, "I'm going to be in so much trouble, you know? It was a 2-hour lunch. Because of you, I will have to work late." "Sorry," I mumbled. I lost track of time. Ingrid bit her lip. "Don't worry, it was worth it." And she pulled my head down and gave me a long, passionate, open mouth kiss. "Thank you for thinking about me. See you tonight?" I watched as Ingrid walked back into the building and turned around to see Will. He looked broken. Seeing his married girlfriend passionately kiss her husband must have hurt him greatly. I wondered if he would talk to Ingrid about it this afternoon. Ingrid came home at almost 20 p.m., looking tired. "Sorry," she apologized. "I wasn't lying when I said I was busy, and you took me out for a 2-hour lunch, so it's just as much your fault." Ingrid looked unhappy. I could tell something was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what. "Are you okay? Are you in a lot of trouble?" I asked. "A little. I'm just tired. Do you mind if we lay on the couch for a while?" she asked me. Of course. I more than agreed. It felt so good to feel her in my arms, to feel how she needed me again. "I love you, Jack," she said, snuggling closer. My heart swelled with joy, and tears welled up in my eyes as I hugged her tighter. But I didn't tell her I loved her. I couldn't do it before I told her I knew about Will because I wasn't sure of the consequences of telling her. A month or a little more has passed since opening day. This is the day when I found out everything. I felt good, looked good, and Ingrid came back to me. I knew this because she came home on time and greeted me with a kiss every day, and she decided that she would do the laundry while I cooked. I knew she didn't like the way I hung clothes to dry, but I suggested that maybe now that I was making more money, we could buy a clothes dryer, which we agreed to. Other signs were that she would cuddle up to me while we were watching TV, or we would just kiss, and she would be noticeably less tense. The only times I saw her on the phone in the evening were when she was looking for jobs. However, there was one problem. We didn't go back to making love. She regularly pleasured herself, as did I, and I knew I couldn't deny her anymore, which meant I'd have to admit I knew about Will, even though I was pretty sure she didn't see him anymore, not being sure. I decided it would be Friday because I wanted us to have the whole weekend to talk about it or for one of us to move out. I had a plan, but it fell apart before I even started implementing it. I was in the shower after my workout with Nick, and while I was there, Ingrid decided to sit on the bed for some reason. I opened the door to the bathroom, and I didn't know who was more surprised, me, seeing her there, or her seeing me in all my glory. When she looked up, her phone fell from her hands, and her mouth fell open. We just looked at each other before she stuttered, "Oh my God, Jack!" A sinister smile appeared on her face as she clearly realized that she wanted sex, and my own desire made me powerless to stop her. She knelt on the bed and ran her hands over my chest, stomach, and arms. "Why did you hide this from me?" she asked before she kissed me. Our kiss became more and more passionate, our tongues intertwined. "Why am I the only one naked?" I asked her. She smiled at me with a mischievous smile and began to tear off her clothes, and then climbed back onto the bed, resting her head on the pillow to wait for me. Oh gods, she was so beautiful, and she wanted me to have her, and I was going to own it, and while I was doing it, I was going to risk everything. I climbed onto the bed and slowly started kissing her feet. Finally, we moved on to sex. "Look at me, Ingrid," I demanded, looking down at her. "Do you like it?" "Oh God, yes, Jack." "So did you imagine Will doing it?" "What?" she exclaimed, her eyes wide with horror. "How are you? Oh God!" She started asking questions before I asked her to shut up. I was determined to keep her in this prison of physical pleasure and emotional pain until I decided to free her. We remained motionless, looking at each other, not moving, while Ingrid began to sob. "You bastard, Jack! You fucking bastard!" I got off of her and sat next to her while she turned away from me. How? How do you know?" she asked quietly. "I checked your phone, Ingrid." "Bastard! You violated my privacy," she said angrily, turning to me. "Cheaters have no right to privacy, Ingrid, so I won't apologize for that. The first time it wasn't intentional. You left your phone unlocked, and I saw a message from Will." Ingrid didn't answer. She turned away from me again. "I want you to tell me everything, Ingrid. No lies. I need to know why. Why did you change?" "Sorry, Jack. I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "You regret that money changer or that you were caught?" I asked sharply. Ingrid thought for a moment, then turned to face me. "I'm sorry for cheating on you. I'm really sorry I cheated on you, but I promise I never slept with him." I looked at her face, streaked with tears, so full of fear. "I believe you," I told her. "If you slept with him, we would be finished. You understand that, right?" Ingrid nodded. "If you went to Rome, would you sleep with him?" "I think I would have to, but I didn't want to go with him. Everything was happening too quickly and getting out of control. I told him I wanted to go to Italy, and the next morning, he had already booked the whole trip. To be honest, I was in a panic about it and didn't know what to do." "Thank you for your honesty," I said with sincere gratitude. Most cheaters lie and give away the truth in drops, but the fact that she said that she would lie with him if she went proved to me that she was telling the truth. "I'm glad I didn't go," she said quietly. "I wanted to go with you, but—" She didn't finish. "You stopped loving me," I finished for her, tears streaming down my cheeks. "It was difficult to say and accept that your wife stopped loving you." "I don't blame you. I became lazy. You became for me not a wife, but a mother. I became fat and disgusting. I stopped loving myself. I'm so ashamed, but why did you have to cheat? Why couldn't you just talk to me?" "I didn't want to cheat, honestly, I didn't want to. I just needed someone to talk to. When you left your job to start your blog, you were so full of fire and ambition. You had so many plans. After seeing you get overwhelmed by your job, it was so wonderful to see you get passionate about something, and then, I don't know what happened. You stopped trying. You stopped helping around the house. I didn't like that you gained weight, but I could live with it if you were making progress on your blog. But you just spent all your time in your office doing nothing, and yes, I fell out of love with you." "What happened? Why Will?" "It could have been anyone. One day after work, we went out for drinks, and I was left alone after everyone had left, and I felt so miserable that I cried. Will saw me and became a shoulder to lean on and listened. We met again, and he listened to me again. Most of the time we met, we talked about you and how my dreams remain unfulfilled because of yours." "So you didn't have feelings for him?" Ingrid shook her head. We kissed a few times, but I didn't really like it because I wasn't in love with him or had any romantic feelings for him. It seemed to me that this is what I should do for him. I wanted to break up with him several times, but there had been no intimacy between you and me for so long that it was nice to feel needed and wanted, so I got carried away. You misled him, I told her frankly. Oh my God, I'm a terrible person, she sobbed, covering her face with her hands full of regret. What changed? You have changed. You have changed. You threw away all your old things. All of them. You bought yourself a new wardrobe and started working out and losing weight. You have no idea how surprised you were when I came home and found that you had cooked spaghetti carbonara and done the laundry. By the way, I'll do the laundry myself. I don't like the way you hang things out to dry. I noticed, I replied with an awkward laugh. Ingrid laughed with me. But I really appreciate it. It was a pleasant surprise. For the first time in a long time, you made me feel special. You've done this all the time before. You started preparing lunches for me at work. When I returned home, you were preparing dinner. Then you started working on your blog and making videos. Your passion is back, and I'm proud of you again. It was so good to hear from everyone at work how good your videos are, although I don't like that you have so many fans. At that moment, my feelings for you flared up again. It was painful. I felt guilty and trapped, like I couldn't breathe. I wanted to be with you, but then I realized how much Will was attracted to me, and I felt terrible about it. I saw what I did to him every day, how broken he looked when I told him I wanted and needed to come home to you. Are you still dating him? Ingrid shook her head. I broke up with him after we went to Il Farinese. That was the real reason I was late. He came to the office and cried at his desk. Now everyone at work hates me. I probably deserve it. I'm not surprised he cried. He saw us kissing when we got back to your office, I told her. He saw a woman he thought was his friend, kissing her husband, in a way she probably hadn't kissed him before. Oh my God, I ruined everything so much, she sobbed. Wait, how did you know who he is? The same day I met you in your office when we went to Il Farinese, it wasn't hard to understand. He gave himself away by the way he didn't look at me and how scared he looked, and also by how scared you were when you saw us both at the reception. How long have you known, really? A little over a month, I think. Why didn't you say anything? I wanted to get you back, but before I did, I didn't want to risk losing you. I also needed to love myself again. I looked at myself in the mirror. I really looked at myself after I saw the messages between you and Will, and I didn't like what I saw, I admitted, my voice shaking with emotion. I really thought I lost you, and it was my fault. Ingrid took my face in her hands and kissed me. I love you, Jack. I am very proud of you. After several moments of awkward silence, Don't you love me, Jack? Ingrid asked sadly, her hands clutching the sheets. You hurt me, Ingrid. I want to love you, but you hurt me by cheating on me. You didn't have to change, but you did. Ingrid cried again, covering her face with her hands. I'm so sorry. Please don't say we're done. We're not done, I told her, trying to hold it together. And I want to love you again. I'm not innocent in our problems, and I admit that I hurt you with my behavior. I admit it, but betrayal is difficult to accept. What do you want to do? She asked nervously. I want us to start dating again and go to marriage counseling. We have a lot of trust issues that need to be addressed. Sorry, I'm not sure I can make love to you until we work this out, but that doesn't mean we can't kiss and do other things for each other. You'll have to kiss me a lot if you want me back. If I ask to see your phone, you will have to give it to me. When you are late at work, you must tell me when you will be home and arrive on time. Ingrid nodded sadly in agreement. I'll do anything. You brought me back. You don't know how great it feels when someone does this for you, so I'm going to show you by winning you back, she told me with determination. I want you in my life, Jack. I want to go back to the way we were. If all it takes is dating and kissing you, then I'm in it for the long haul. I don't think we can go back to the way we were, but I think we can come to something different. Maybe better. We both messed up. Family counseling will help us with this. I picked up Ingrid's phone from the floor and handed it to her. It's late and I'm hungry. I want you to order pizza and then you can join me in the shower. Tonight I want to stay home and watch a movie with you on the couch." For the first time after sex, a happy smile appeared on Ingrid's face. "I really like it." As I headed to the bathroom, guilt washed over me, and I turned to Ingrid. "I'm sorry for the way I treated you when we had sex. I had a need to punish you, but I went too far." "I love you, Jack," was her response. "I will keep telling you this even if you don't say it." When we were in the shower, we washed each other and then kissed. Feeling her naked body pressed against me as we kissed was much more satisfying than the sex we had previously had. That evening, we ate pizza and drank beer while watching a stupid comedy. The movie didn't matter because Ingrid was clinging to me. We continued talking and kissing all weekend. The following week, we started marriage counseling. We explained the situation, both accepting responsibility and admitting our mistakes. "So what do you want to achieve from counseling?" asked the family consultant. "I need to get over my trust issues," I said. "Divorce is simply not an option for me. I need to love Ingrid again." Hearing these words, Ingrid began to cry. "I love Jack and I want him in my life," she said with great confidence. "What I did will haunt me for the rest of my life. I can't afford to do it again." The counselor noticed us sitting together, holding hands as we talked, and said it was nice to see that she finally had a couple who both wanted their marriage to work and were equally interested in solving their problems. We had sessions together and separately. I had the most individual sessions because I had the most problems to resolve. The marriage counselor asked me some insightful and intimate questions and helped me realize that I really loved Ingrid, but the feelings of resentment caused me to suppress it and not express it. To help us, the counselor gave us trust exercises at home, and I was relieved to see Ingrid participating enthusiastically. The counselor also helped Ingrid overcome her shame and guilt by telling her that it was okay to feel this way in the short term, but if she felt this way all the time, it would become destructive because she would eventually become angry at me for it. This passed the ball to me, and I tearfully told her I forgive her. I have to say, this really surprised me. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders and instinctively hugged Ingrid, and we both cried on each other's shoulders. The counselor also shed a tear as she saw how one act of forgiveness made a huge leap in our progress and made our relationship stronger. Ingrid told me that her pride in me for recognizing and changing my behavior gave her a new love for me, and she said that she had already forgiven me in her heart, but said it out loud to strengthen her position. My trust in Ingrid grew as we progressed, and her phone became a symbol of it all. I started checking her phone every day I saw it, without permission. Then I started asking permission. This was important to Ingrid. This showed that I respected her privacy and trusted her. After a couple of days of not checking, she asked me to check it. When I reached out to take it, I couldn't do it. As we progressed in our consulting journey, we encountered two obstacles. Before each session, the counselor asked us if there was anything we would like to say. There was something that kept nagging at me when we talked after sex. "Ingrid, you told me when you talked to Will about me that you talked about how you put your dreams on hold while I pursued mine. What did you mean?" Ingrid pulled her hand out of mine and looked away guiltily. "You know, I love everything Italian. I have always dreamed of living in Italy. Not forever, just for a year or two. The truth is, when I told you I was working late, I wasn't always with Will. I took Italian classes. I really wanted to fulfill my dream. If I ever left you, it wouldn't be for Will, but to live in Italy. I planned this. My company has an office there, and I was thinking about transferring." I put my head in my hands. This was all news to me. "How are you feeling, Jack?" asked the consultant. "Is it important for you to learn Italian and live in Italy?" I asked Ingrid. "Yes, that's what I want more than anything other than having children." I got up and started walking around the office. I felt detached. She had a dream, but she never entrusted it to me, did not make me part of this dream. Ingrid saw that I was upset. I took a deep breath. "This hurts, Ingrid. You never told me about this, not from the first day we met." Tears began to roll down my cheeks. I think this hurts more than your betrayal. There was something important that you wanted to do, but you didn't tell me. Ingrid, do you understand why Jack is upset? Asked the consultant. She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and she took my hand again, looking into my eyes. I'm so sorry, Jack. I worked so hard to win back your trust, and I messed it up again. In your dreams, where was I? If I left you, you wouldn't be in them at all. But before we started having problems, you were there with me. One of the reasons I was glad you quit your job to focus on your blog was because I thought I could achieve my dream, but then you stopped pursuing your dream. But when were you going to tell me about this? I don't know, Jack. I probably never really thought this would happen. It was just a dream, and when we started having problems, I thought I wouldn't have anything to lose. Do you still want to move to Italy? Would you like me to be there with you? Certainly. I love you. I want you to be where I am. I love coming home to you every night and seeing you cooking dinner before snuggling up on the couch in front of the TV. You make me feel safe and bring me more happiness than I could ever wish for. I took a deep breath. Ingrid, you helped me achieve my dream, and your dreams are important to me. So if living in Italy for a year or two is important to you, then I think we should do it. But please, never again. Don't hide your dreams from me. Ingrid looked at me in disbelief, covering her mouth with her hand. Oh my God, she whispered before she screamed, oh my God, and literally jumped on me, and we started kissing passionately. Our consultant coughed a little and said, sorry, and we remembered where we were. Ingrid got off me, and we looked like two embarrassed teenagers caught in the act. I don't usually like screaming during my sessions, but I think I'll make an exception this time. Thank you for making me smile. That was very impressive, Jack. Rarely do I see so much happiness. I'm so grateful, Ingrid told me excitedly with tears of joy. I love you so much, Jack. When we got home, we finally made love. I was a little reluctant, but Ingrid was determined to show how grateful she was. It was slow and intense, but most of all loving. There were no perversions, just slow and vanilla sex. It was an expression of our love for each other, and at the end I was finally able to say the words Ingrid so desperately wanted to hear. I love you. The next obstacle was easier to overcome. Ingrid suddenly became again remote. Of course, the worst thoughts flashed through my head. She cheated again, didn't she? I thought we were already past this. After 2 weeks of this behavior, I confronted her. Ingrid, we need to talk, I insisted through the bathroom door. Just a minute, Jack. I need to talk to you too, she replied from the bathroom. Her nervous voice confused me. She slowly walked out of the bathroom. She looked pale and sick. Are you okay? I asked worriedly. I am fine. More than okay, she replied with a weak smile. You don't look too good. That's because I just puked. You're sick. You need to see a doctor, I started, but stopped when she put her finger on my lips. I think I'm pregnant, she said, and I just looked at her stunned. That's why I haven't been myself lately. I had a suspicion that I was pregnant, and when my period was late, I was sure. I think I have morning sickness, which pretty much confirms it. How? It's not morning, I asked stupidly. You were there, so you should know. This is what happens when you punish me. She smiled weakly, trying to make a joke. And morning sickness can happen at any time of the day. At that moment, she looked small and fragile. I had a natural desire to protect her. I hugged her tightly. I'm sorry, was all I could say. Sorry? For what? Aren't you glad? She asked with concern. Just because of the way it happened. Of course I'm glad. I love you, I told her confusedly. I was completely stunned. I was going to ask what she was hiding, but it turned out that she was pregnant. I felt funny, stupid, and ashamed of my doubts. We'll do a paternity test, she said, looking at me confidently, mistaking my confusion for doubt. I promise this baby is yours. I've only slept with you since the first time you asked me if I'd be the sugar in your coffee, which was a damn weird approach, especially when you were sober and in the office. I did not say that. I asked it if you drink coffee with sugar, and because of this lie, I was called to the HR department. You said it. I don't... I interrupted this argument by kissing her deeply. I didn't care about the sick taste in her mouth. I just needed to kiss her. A subsequent pregnancy test only confirmed what we both already knew. What a turnaround, our family consultant said with a smile. Congratulations. I'm glad that this time the child is really my husband's. It happens more often than you think. We'll do a paternity test, Ingrid announced. No need. Ingrid, we don't need to. I know the child is mine, I objected. No, I don't want any more doubt in our marriage. She took my hand and placed it in her lap, as if someone could take me away from her. I know better than anyone who I've slept with, and for the last 8 years it's only been you, Jack, and the sex with you is the best I've ever had. What about your dream, Ingrid? Asked the consultant. Didn't you want to live in Italy? It will remain a dream. I have the best dream here. Ingrid dreamily smiled, tapping my stomach and kissing my hand. Why? I asked. We can still do this. You just have to wait a little longer until the baby is born. Are you serious? Ingrid asked, hopefully, to which I nodded. Of course, this is your dream, I told her, and kissed her. Ingrid insisted on a paternity test, and the results were what we all knew. I was the father of the child, but I still felt terrible about how it happened. Ingrid told me, let's leave bygones in the past. It's been one bad year, and we have so many plans for the future. Going back, she was right about the paternity test. Not that it eliminated the doubts, because there were no doubts, but it somehow established our mutual trust and allowed us to move forward. After everything we had been through, it seemed like our marriage was now stronger. Does this mean I'm glad Ingrid cheated? No, of course not. Am I proud of my role in our problems? Absolutely not. Do I wish this had never happened? Definitely. But having said all that, we were going to be a family, we had plans that we had never had before, and we both lived for each other. Ingrid ended up in HR and received a serious reprimand for the drama of the past months and was given a verbal warning. She asked them not to punish Will. She also informed them of her pregnancy and had to convince them that the baby was not Will's. I think the fact that there was no sexual contact between her and Will, her remorse, her promise not to cause any more problems, and her pregnancy saved her from a more serious punishment, but it affected her career in the company. However, her pregnancy changed her outlook on life. Home became the place she most wanted to be, and her focus was now on her family, so the reduced workload and hours suited her. I decided to take the exams to become qualified to give financial advice. I wanted to offer affordable financial advice to small businesses. I decided that with the popularity of my blog and videos, I could make a lot of money, and we needed that to move to Italy. Ingrid gave birth to a beautiful girl whom we named Julia. What can I say? Ingrid loves everything Italian. We spent 3 unforgettable years in Italy after Ingrid returned from maternity leave and was transferred to the Milan office. Working from home has been great. I could spend a lot of time with Julia, and my work wouldn't suffer because I could work from anywhere in the world. It just meant that I had to work a little after everyone else had gone to bed. We returned home so Julia could start school, and Ingrid was pregnant again with a boy we named Marco. Again, Ingrid loves all things Italian. We decided that we wanted our children to go to school in England, and Ingrid told me that the reality of life in Italy was better than her dream, but she was ready to return home. Ingrid became unhappy with her career and said she needed a change. I asked her to work for me in my growing financial advisory business. She could start part-time doing accounting and even write blogs for me. She was over IM qualified and could take the stress out of corporate racing. She ended up not working full-time until Marco was in high school. Ingrid became unrecognizable from the woman I married, but in a good way. The independent, sexy career woman I fell in love with is now a home-loving housewife. Now she was happier and more satisfied with life. I think living in Italy made her feel more whole, and she was now ready to settle down. We were now a complete family, and my love for Ingrid had never been stronger, and her love for me had never been stronger. We never spoke about that year again. It was too painful. And like she said, it was just one bad year amid many good ones. So it wasn't worth remembering. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.